Hey, what's up guys? Today I'm comparing some Procomp small block Chevy heads to the generic eBay heads. So Procomp cylinder heads have been around for a while now. I mean, I don't know if you can call them old school, but they're getting there. And these days they're more known as Speedmaster heads. They went through a name change not too long ago, but they're basically the same thing. The reason I wanted to make this video, well, the reason I got the idea for this video, is because there's this other channel, this other YouTuber, Richard Holdener. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but his channel's in my featured channel, so if you want to check that out. He's got a bunch of cool dyno stuff, and he did a couple videos recently on the Procomp heads. One of them was a, I think he called it small block Chevy budget something. One of the tests he did where he compared some 210 Procomps versus some 190 Procomps. And the results were quite interesting, so you'll have to check that out if you're interested. Anyways, back to these heads. Another reason I wanted to do this video is because I got a few videos of the generic eBay heads. A lot of people mistake them for Procomp heads. They go, oh, those are just Procomps. No, they're not. And I was fortunate enough to have a friend who had some used Procomps. And by the way, these are used heads. And so I borrowed one just so I could, compare, the slight differences. Because they're, as I said, it's kind of an old school head. It was the first cheap budget overseas, alternative. Well, alternative to the more expensive U.S. heads. So, anyways, let's get to this. Okay, I got the Procomp here on the left and the generic eBay on the right. And right away, cosmetically you can see there's a slight differences in the machining. Like right here you can see the Procomp has like a smaller machine pad for the exhaust side, whereas the eBay has a wider pad. So that's the easiest way just to tell the difference just by a quick glance. Now some of the Procomp will have on the end, I believe, have like machined in their Procomp, but this head does not. Another quick way to check would be to check the casting. As you can see right here in the Procomp, there is a 3003 cast right into the head, and that stands for the this size and version. The main differences in these heads, non-cosmetically, is this is a 210 cc runner, and this is a 200 cc intake runner. So not perfect, comparison, but I mean, I think the alternative was they have maybe a 205 or they still have the 190 or 195. So you're not going to find perfectly sized comparisons. So close enough. Anyways, I also noticed when I was looking over this head, there appears to be a, I don't know if I can get this right angle, get the camera, get it where is it? Yeah, it's kind of hard to get it in this light. Right here, there is a, I don't know what we call that. It's not really stamped, stenciled. I don't know. More numbers, and I think it's a date code on there. It looks like it's 2010 10/7. So I don't know if that's October 7th or what is it? 7th, July 10th. Don't know. But so there it is. Quick, overall first visual comparison. I want to also point out before I forget. That Procomp was known for having, early Procomps were known for having various, casting or machining defects, which the newer, they still have some problems as well with the generic eBays, because you can see that from my OG video where I have the problem with the seats, but they're not as common as the problems they had with the Procomps, from what I've heard. There was various, casting issues where this was too bad and it was too expensive to fix or poor machining, but they've had a lot of time to revise the current overseas head. So there it is. We got that out of the way. Okay, moving on to exhaust ports. Quick, just measurement. Overall at the flange, they are the same size roughly. roughly the same. Now, inside it gets a little more interesting, but we'll get to that later. I'm going to actually pull two of the valves and clean up the best I can inside the ports, because you can see this is a used head, so you can't really see in there, where you can see in this nice new head, and plus the valve out of there, you get a little bit of light. So we'll get to that comparison a little bit later. Right now we're just doing quick overall. Okay, so we'll move on to the spring area. Nothing really major. You can tell on this head that I think my friend said he didn't use the bolts washers, so you can see that the spot spacing is a little damaged, but otherwise, still usable. That's not a bolt hole, that's the oil drain. See? Right there, oil drain. That's why it looks perfect still. But I mean, generally, they just, basically, just casting. We'll move on to more interesting here. Okay, onto the intake flange. You can see right away the runner entrance is much larger on the the Procomp versus the eBay. Well, getting this here real quick. You'll see for yourself. Right there. A little taller. A little wider. But honestly, I think the eBay heads are purposely left small so you can size them to your app. I mean, it's more so right here, just at the flange. So that's my opinion. They're probably they've adjusted their casting and machining over the course of from start to now. And I do want to say you can still get these heads, the Procomp heads, I believe brand new. There was a website I looked up. I think they're about 800-ish assembled for a pair. I think they're on eBay still as well. So I mean, when you say eBay, sometimes people get that mixed up. But this is why when I'm saying eBay, I'm talking about this, because this is this is generic. I've never heard a name for them really, other than people who have bought them generic and then named them themselves. Like, I'll mention that later when I mention some flow numbers. But moving on to the decks and chambers. You can see the chambers are pretty much overall the same shape. I mean, they're real close. But there are minor differences. The most notable difference is the spark plug position. You can see on the Procomps, it is closer to the deck, and maybe even they don't have those excess threads. See? So this head, you could angle mill or surface a lot more, but you're going to run out of surfaces or cleanups pretty fast on the Procomps, it looks like. These heads were resurfaced recently, and I made a whole video dealing with that. But overall, I posted it on a few forums and got some comments on the video. Overall, the consensus is this poor surface that my friend got from an unknown shop is unacceptable compared to this nicer finish. And basically, one of the best replies I had was, they require a smooth finish on the head at least, and then somewhat on the deck, because with extreme clamping force, pressure, and thermal expansion and cooling contraction, the cycles of it over and over, that rough deck surface will over time chew up the head gasket, because it's essentially expanding and contracting and just eating away at it, and it will not seal for long. But actually, this surface right here, it is questionable if it would seal too well from the go. I mean, if you use a thicker composite gasket and spray it with copper, coated it maybe a couple times, it probably would work. I don't know how long it would work for, but if you want to see more about that, you check out that video. It's there it is. Okay, so overall, one more thing I want to point out before I forget. Back to the spark plugs. And by the way, you can see here, this is the result of using the incorrect length depth spark plug. See how there's some carbon on those threads? Initially he had the wrong spark plugs in there, and when you do that you should probably run a thread chaser to get that little bit of carbon out of there so you don't, damage your threads. But anyways, we'll screw one of these plugs in here real quick, one of my dummy plugs, and just check out the overall depth real quick. And it's actually, just right. It's right there, not sticking out, not, sunken, pretty good. So anyways, now that we've did our overall initial comparison, I want to tear down this head, pull those springs, clean it up before it gets dark, and we'll get back to with a better look inside the actual runners and show you what I seen the differences of these heads. Quick tip for removing stuck valve locks off engine. Now, I have a nice LSM valve spring compressor, and I was able to remove the intake, no problem. I went ahead and marked it, and they take locks and the retainer, so I keep them separate, put them back on where they were. But they do not recommend you use this tool, the LSM tool, to break loose stuck locks because it can damage the bearings in there, or I think there's some in there too. So to do that without damaging my expensive tool, I took a block of wood and I backed it on this bench between the valve and the bench. I don't want to get in there right now and knock the head over. I backed it in there, placed a socket on the retainer, and gave it a good whack with my dead blow. And that broke loose the locks on the exhaust valve. So I did that without, carefully, without knocking over the head, it almost fell over right there. I did that without, damaging the deck if this was a perfect deck. So just, FYI, there's how you can do it one way without putting the head on a block or engine, by itself without damaging your nice tool. Now, of course, some people might have a nicer, air compressor style tool, but I don't. So there it is. Hope this helps. Okay, so about a quarter sweat, maybe a quarter blood too. I don't know. There was a lot of mosquitoes, and quick dinner later, we're back, and I got the heads. The head. I got the runners, the intake and exhaust and chamber cleaned up a little bit. Best I could. With just some brake clean, a rag, and a little nylon brush. So, anyways, before I show you that, I almost forgot. I found the flow numbers of these heads, the Procomp and the eBay head, on a website the other day. Well, someone's version of the eBay head. And, of course with the square ports, not the Vortec style ports. And no, those aren't the OG heads. So stay tuned for 3.0 as soon as I get a chance to go over that. Anyways, back to these heads. So I found the flow numbers of the Procomp 210 and the the 200 eBay head. Basically, they said they were floating the same bench, so you want to pause in a second. I'm going to throw those numbers up and you can go over them. Okay, so there was that. You can make your own decision. You can see the numbers for yourself. Which head is the better head? And one more thing before we get into these ports that I forgot to mention earlier. When I was talking about the plug position, you're going to probably have more of a problem with if you have a dome piston with this Procomp head versus the higher position in the chamber or lower, whatever it is, the ceiling of the cylinder, I guess you want to say, so maybe higher, further away from the piston. That works. So just wanted to mention that before I forgot again. On to the runner comparison. Now, I want to point out one more thing that's different about these heads. See, a while back, I actually tore down the head a little bit. You know, I pulled down a couple cylinders on one of these heads for my friends. It was a couple years ago. And I took some pictures, and it appears they're not exactly the same. So there's a little bit of, I guess, secret squirrel stuff going on. You kind of maybe you forgot you did this. So, anyways, maybe I'll throw up a picture of one of those pictures I had. They weren't the greatest pictures, but we'll throw it up so you can see what I'm saying. So here we are onto the bowl shot row here real quick. Let me grab a flashlight. I'm going to try and light this up with not too much light. And you can see, yeah, I didn't do the best of getting them clean, but basically, yeah, that's better right there. We'll do this, spotlight. You can see the guide boss on the exhaust runner is definitely larger than on the eBay heads. And also, I believe the port itself is smaller. So we'll look at that here real quick, compare them. Flip these heads. Okay. Switch hands here real quick with the flashlight. And you can see right there, here's the Procomp and the eBay. I mean, visually it's kind of hard to tell, but when I've taken measurements, I think that this is the smaller port. You can see what I'm talking about, that secret squirrel stuff. No comment. Anyways, let's move on to the intake runners. I put them on my plates as kind of carousels. It's working okay. So, get my light again over here. Okay, there we go. And you can see the guide has a nice shape. You know, we got a nice straight wall, a little bit of a bolt bulge. Then we go on to the Procomp over here. And look at the size of that bolt bulge. Get another shot of it here. I think my light's time. Switching lights, one sec. There we go. Got some extra light now. Of course, you have too much light. I'll try this way. From the top, maybe. There we go. So you can see that huge bolt boss. Let me try something here real quick. I'll try to do the camera and the light. And I don't know if you can see my finger behind the bolt boss. That's actually a better shot right there. Whereas we got over here the eBay generic head. Hello. It's overall a better intake runner. I mean, it's just, let's turn these suckers around. And you can see once again here in the bowls. Yeah, there. They got a nice shape guide. It's got a trailing part of the guide. Good lead in. As we go over to the Procomps, a little bit of a trail. No lead. I mean, there's like, it's just, you know, it's there. It's a guide. It's the brass part protrudes pretty good. Let's give them a shot of that real quick. See right there? Oh, this light is just not going to cooperate. Right there. See, it's a huge protrusion of the guide. And actually, when you look at the valve itself in there, you think you just trim that guide down. Oh, this is going to be harder to show. But no, you can see right there, there's a step on the, oh, come on, focus. Get the camera out of the shot, not focus, maybe. You see that you can see the step part of the valve. And sorry guys, this is not cooperating on this camera and this flashlight. There we go. That's what I want to show. You can see the step of the valve because these are step valves. So it's you know, you can't really shorten that guide. I mean, I don't believe, I haven't measured them myself, but I don't think you're going to be able to shorten them. I mean, the chambers themselves look close, like I mentioned earlier, but there are subtle differences, you know, here and there. There's more of a distinct line, you know, less of a radius than on the eBay head. So, I mean, just here and there. Major difference though in the intake runner, and you know, a size difference in the exhaust runner. So I mean, it's clear to see this is the better head. Procomp, if you get a good deal, you know, and they're not used up and all messed up, I mean, I guess, you know, it's still better than stock. But there they are. Let me know what you think. If I missed anything, I think I got it all. Like I said, I'm going to do a video on those 3.0 heads sometime soon. We've had enough head videos for now. Actually, I got to start on the Sportsman 2. This is my next video right here. We're going to go over my Sportsman 2 heads. I'm just working on these, getting these tweaked up, and I want to show, you know, comparison. You know, I'm tweaking this one, and then I got the other one over there, and we'll get those out, and I'll cover that before I drop them off to the machine shop, because, you know, that's the priority. I want to get those heads done, get my Corvette going, enjoy what, you know, I can of summer, what's left. So, let me know what you think. I hope this helps. Like I said, you know, people often mistake the eBay heads for Procomp heads, but they're not the same thing. At least not anymore. So, that's it. Hope this helps. Thanks for watching. Keep it real. I wrapped it up too fast. I want to mention a couple other things real quick. One, I went ahead and oiled up the valve seats after I cleaned it with brake clean because I don't want them to flash rust. So just, you know, we're good. And for the two valves I removed, I already got some new valve seals. I'll swap them out before I put the head back together. So don't worry, man. I got you. Thanks again for letting me borrow your cylinder head. Appreciate it, man. Everybody else, see you next time.